you for having me, everyone. It's really nice to be here today, and I hope that today I can help some of you with your job hunting. It's obviously really nerve-wracking to go into the job market, and however, working in a flexible way is the way that we should all be working in the future. So yeah, thank you for having me. So to just introduce you to who I am, so like Louise said, I'm Louise as well and I'm the founder of Daisy Chain. Daisy Chain is an online platform that matches and connects parents with flexible employers. So we work with over 100 companies that are actively looking to find talented people, parents on our platform, and to employ them on a flexible basis. So I started Daisy Chain just over 4 years ago. I had worked in recruitment for over 10 years and had my 3 children in that time as well, and really started Daisy Chain after my 3rd child, Daisy, was born. Because I was getting frustrated myself with the lack of flexibility that was being offered to parents, but also because parents were coming up to me all the time at the school gates, knowing that I was in recruitment and saying, can you help me? I'm hating where I'm working. My boss is a nightmare. I can never get any time off to come and see the play, or I'm hating the commute. It's getting really stressful. I never get back in time for pickup, and it's just driving me mad. And I would talk to these, obviously, they were mainly mums, I have to say. They were, I'd chat to them and say, well, what do you do? And there were lawyers, some were marketing execs, HR professionals, all these very, very talented women that just couldn't find anything to fit around their lifetime, at that time in their life. And I just thought there has to be something out there that can help these people. And actually there wasn't much being advertised as being somewhere that you could really find truly flexible jobs. Lots of recruiters kind of weren't all that embracive of the flexible working. There's a number of reasons why I think that is. One of them mainly because they get paid on commission on how much they charge, how much someone earns. And if someone's suddenly saying, oh, well, I want to do 2 or 3 days a week, for them in their head, that's less commission. So there was lots of recruiters that were quite closed off about it. They're trying to push people into roles that they didn't really want to do. And I thought, well, if there's a way that I can just match and connect companies and individuals, and I don't need to get involved as a recruiter, they can talk directly, then that will be the chain, and that will be Daisy Chain growing. So we have grown, obviously, since we launched. We're up to over 10,000 people on the platform. 98% of them are female. Like I said, there's lots of mums that are really looking for flexible working, but there are also lots of dads, and we want the dads to join. We need to be a 50-50 split to make this really work. So I thought today that I'd kind of go through my top 3 bits of advice to make flexible working work for you. So if you're an individual and you're really looking for flexible work, what to look for in a company when you're applying for things. And also if you might be an entrepreneur yourself, or you might be a small business and you're looking to hire talent, maybe think of these 3 things as well when looking at your recruitment strategies and trying to attract people. So I thought I have got some notes. So at the moment, I suppose I'll start by saying, what is flexible working? And the definition of flexible working is a way of working that suits an employee's needs. So it's quite a broad range of different types of working. So included in that is part-time. It's also full-time with flexibility. So that flexibility could mean starting time, finishing time, remote working, which you've obviously just all been going through. So that's a big tick in the flexible working. It includes project work, it includes freelance, and it also includes job share. So they're the kind of, that's the bracket of flexible working. And the one that probably most people have been hearing about over the last 18 months, and you will do going forward, is this hybrid way of working. So it's a bit of remote working, it's being in the office, but it's working from home. So there's so many different types of flexible working, but it's a way of working that suits an employee's needs. Over 54% in the UK of people are working flexibly at the moment, which is actually quite a high amount of people working flexibly. However, just 10% of jobs are advertised as flexible. So there's a bit of a problem there with the jobs market. And if you are looking for a flexible job at the moment, just to bear that in mind, we are at a peak of job vacancies. There's over 1.1 million jobs being advertised at the moment. So there are still quite a lot that are being advertised as flexible. However, I think you should all bear in mind that this last 18 months, 2 years, has been a huge, huge shift when it comes to flexible working. We've all been through it. We've seen the benefits, we've seen the negatives. And I think lots of businesses are still a little bit hesitant to fully advertise as being flexible. But if you're looking for a job and you see your dream job and it doesn't have flexible working on there, I would definitely still apply or contact the company and ask if they have a flexible working policy in place. If they do, great, tick. If they don't, maybe a little bit less of a tick, but you should explore it and find out a little bit more about those companies in their whole work culture. And that's where my next kind of 3 things come into place when you're looking for a job. So my first one would be, the first thing we have to really embrace now around flexible working is tech and the technology. The tech we've worked with over the last 18 months is something that we've all, I'm sure, never had to embrace quite so much, whether we are a working parent and suddenly being on so many Zoom calls or Teams, all these different new things that we're doing that we can now connect with people. We've also had our children at home that have also been doing all their online learning. We've had to fully embrace it. And that's something I don't think a lot of candidates realise how good they are at it. And that should be a real, something you can add to your CV when you're in interviews. Be really confident about these new skills that we've learned around tech, and we've had to embrace it. We might not have done before, but we have definitely embraced it. And also as a company, if they're looking to recruit, they have, they're looking to hire staff on a flexible basis, they have to get the tech in place. And if people are coming to them and saying, look, I'm not that confident when it comes to some of the aspects of tech within their businesses, you can retrain them, you can give them some advice. I think as well as mums and dads, it's always worth talking to people that are connections and saying, look, I'm really struggling with this aspect, this app that my boss is trying to make me download and I can't work it out. Just talk to people about and get some free advice. And I think you'll find lots of people are in the same place, that we are a bit nervous around it. We're from a generation that hasn't been brought up around tech. The younger generations have, so they are going to be a bit more savvy. But parents now, we're less tech savvy, but we've got to learn, we've got to pick it up quickly. So that would be my first thing. The second thing to look for is when you're looking for a job and you're looking at the companies to work for, is to really see how they are promoting themselves and their staff, and look at how they are trusting their employers. Trust is so important to make flexible working work. It has to be between 2 parties. So employers have to trust their employees, and employees have to entrust their employers, and those 2 go in hand. I think we were just talking earlier, Alice, a little bit about how your previous employers maybe don't trust you to work remotely, work from home, and actually you just break down, and you just, as in your communications break down, and you just think, I can't be bothered to work with you anymore. If you don't trust me, then what's the point? So it's really important to look out for those businesses that are talking about the trust that they give their employees. And this kind of goes on to my next point, would be communication and case studies. So communication is key for making flexible work. So if you're looking for a job and you're employed at the moment and you want to apply for flexible working, it's so important to get the communication going and being really open and honest with your employer about what's working and what's not. I'm sure lots of you have gone through receiving these surveys to say what's working for you, what would you like going forward. So they're communicating with you, but are they really listening to what you feedback? That's really important as well. So the communication is really important. And I think even when you're applying for a job, getting that communication about what flexibility they can offer from really early is really important, because you don't want to waste your time applying for something and they don't want to waste their time as well if the role's not right for you. So communication's key. Obviously, candidates that join Daisy Chain, that communication is pretty open from the start, because the companies we work with know that those candidates are parents and they're looking for flexibility. So that communication part is already there. And I know lots of people find that quite nerve-wracking to kind of bring, what stage do you bring up? Oh, well, I'm a parent. Do you bring it up at all, or do you wait till you start the job? And I know somebody that started a job and they didn't even know they had children. So it's one of those things. It's, I suppose, everyone's individual. And if you feel like it's an important part of your life, work-life balance, being a parent is a big part, I'd say. So definitely the communication part's key. And this is also around case studies. Case studies is really important. When you're applying for a flexible, you're putting a flexible working request in, get your case studies together. It can be case studies from your own company, if they have any. If they don't, again, use your network at the school gate. The school gate's an amazing place to network and get lots of case studies. It could be ex-colleagues that do similar jobs to you, but maybe work at a company that's very flexible. Get your case studies together, highlight what's working, how they've made it work, and then put that in with your request for flexible working. And that's something you should also look for if you are looking for a job. Look at the companies that are really shouting about these case studies. I mean, we've got some great examples of companies that are really, really vocal when it comes to flexible working, and they highlight their flexibility via case studies, and they talk about their own staff. Definitely don't have to be a parent for this. You know, it's somebody that's maybe going off to do studying at the same time, someone's being a yoga instructor, whatever it is. There's lots of different reasons why people want flexibility in their life. So look for those case studies. And that will also give you a good feel about how that, if that's a company that you want to work for with their work culture. It's it's really important that candidates, if you're looking for a job, just do your research. There's so much out there now. If companies are really open about flexible working, they'll talk about it. Don't be put off too much if they're not shouting about it. Just do some digging. If it's a job that you think you could do, and they're not openly talking about flexible working, still apply, ask the questions. Like I said, it's the time at the moment when it's a candidate short market. So if you're job hunting, you're in a really strong position. There is not enough talent looking for jobs at the moment. So be as flexible as you want to be with your requests. We always say to candidates, you should have a hit list of things that you're negotiable on and what your non-negotiables are, and really, really stick to those when applying for jobs. When you're looking at companies, and don't deviate from your non-negotiables. Stick to what you need. And I think as you have to also really think about the benefits that you can bring to businesses. Being a parent, we've learned so much about ourselves, how we can, work from home, working with our children. We've learned so many skills as a parent. We should always remember that when applying for a job, because they're huge benefits to have for a business. So if you're underconfident about applying, I'd say go for it. Ask as many questions as you can. Get some advice. If you need some help on helping with your CV, for example, we can help at Daisy Chain. But if you've got any questions, just let me know. And I hope that kind of fills some of the gaps around the flexible working.
Thanks so much, Louise. That was really great, especially about the case studies, kind of going armed with case studies of how flexible working works, either for other people in the company or other companies, because I wouldn't really have thought of doing that. So that's a really, really useful tip. I've got a few questions here, which I'll go through with Louise. And then if anybody on the call wants to ask further questions, then please do. So, I mean, I suppose you've kind of answered this one when you spoke about opening communication and finding case studies. But someone has asked, how do you approach your boss about flexible hours if you are office based, but now you want to move into being more flexible? And I suppose that's kind of been asked because probably there's a bit of a worry there about how it's going to be taken, or whether they'll say, well, you're office based, so that,
Yes, so I suppose, I mean, every role is different, and I think, 99% of jobs out there can be done remotely. Then not all jobs can be done remotely or flexibly, I should say. So I'm assuming this person would probably want to stagger their start time, or do they want to work in a hybrid way, so work from home and in the office? There's different ways. So if you go to the government website, there's quite a clear information pack there that you can download and you can fill in. So you do need to put in a request, basically. You need to put in a formal request, ask for flexible working, outline what it is that you want. So it might be, I don't know what this person wants. If they do want that flexibility when it comes to coming in at 10, leaving later, or it's remote working or hybrid working. I think once you put your request in, you have to obviously put a meeting in, request that you're going to be putting this flexible working request in. And then if there's any hesitate, well, they have to accept that anyway. But I would also say to people, look, can we not trial this? Can we try this for 3 months to make this work for you as work for me? I think it's always approaching an employer not thinking on from a personal point of view, but thinking from their point of view, because they don't want you to leave. That will be their number one thing. They won't want you to leave because it costs them a lot of money to hire people, to train people. Your asset to the business, so they won't want to leave you. So they will be open to negotiating. And like I said, you could do your list of things that you're non-negotiable on, and you are negotiable, but obviously keep that to yourself. And you can go in and have informal chats around working, informal working request, see how that goes. And I think most businesses should be opening to try it at least.
Okay, that's great. The next one is, and I guess this is kind of stemming from that whole idea of presenteeism and people who are in the office. And there's been lots of articles recently about, missing out on the water cooler chats and all this stuff. So how do you avoid missing out on promotions or good jobs when they always seem to be given to those that work more regular hours or are office based?
Yeah, so I mean, this is quite hard, I suppose, because recently none of us have been in the office. So, but yes, there is going to be that aspect. If you're working part-time, you are going to feel like you're missing out on what's going on those other 2 days in the office. I think having, I suppose, not a buddy, but someone in the office that has always got your back. It might be someone else that's working part-time or working remotely, and you can kind of air your worries with them and say, look, this is what I'm worried about. Will you have my back and I'll have your back? That's always quite a good thing to do in the workplace. And just making sure that if you are being left out, you have to be open about it and talk about it and go to your manager, go to your boss or say, look, I feel like this is happening. And is it because I'm not in the office? Is it because you can't see me because I'm always online? Businesses now have really shifted and often have meetings with a Zoom in the background, and there's lots of ways to get around if people are not in the office on certain days or not working. If you're working part-time and you're not in on certain days, but there's an important meeting that you want to be part of, you can always say, can I please be involved with this, but can I then take this day off? I think it's having open communications around it, but it's probably more of a worry for that individual and businesses probably don't even really, they probably don't think about it. And so unless you say something, then they won't know how to rectify it.
So this one's about obviously when you're working flexibly, so maybe it's remote or hybrid, or your kind of hours are slightly different to like traditional 9 to 5. Do you have any tips for sticking to your hours, making sure you don't go way over when they're a little unstructured? Because working from home, it becomes, where's the boundary? Like when you've got an office, you sort of go in, do your hours and you leave. And I know people still do bits and pieces, but there is that very distinct kind of stop and start,
It is hard. It's hard because we're at home. We can always just quickly have a look at our phone. There's lots of benefits to tech, but there's a lot of negatives. I think just being really strict with yourself and saying, this is when I finish work, and I'm not going to be doing anything else in the evenings or on my days off, because that's also, you know, a real negative if someone, we were saying before, if someone can work, is being paid to work 4 days a week or 3 days a week, but you're actually doing 5, it's actually, you know, it's not good. It's not good practice, and it's a bit of a waste of time. You may as well just get paid for 5 days. I think having a structure every day when you, I mean, I work from home, I work remotely. I have to have a structure each day. I know I have to finish at this time and I can't get distracted after that time. But it is hard to switch off. The other thing that I've done, and I've seen loads of other people do who do work flexibly, is just literally putting it on your email signature. This is what I do. These are the hours. I won't get back to you straight away because I'm doing, this is how I work. I don't expect you to get back to me because you might work soon. However your wording is. We did a blog this week with a coach, and she said one of her top questions from her clients was saying, what do I write in my email signature? So we can share that with you, the top ones, because it is quite hard to know, you know, what to say, but at the same time you have to say it, otherwise the lines get very, very blurred. But yeah, I suppose just being strict with your time, and trying, I mean, the work-life balance it's pretty impossible anyway, isn't it? It's never going to be 100%. But anything to try and make your life feel a bit better and less guilty about, you know, if you're not working and you're with the kids, don't be guilty about the other thing. It's kind of, you know, we're all people.
Yeah, no, I like what you said about having it in your email signature. And I guess, again, it's, you know, obviously if you're using lots of maybe online ways of communicating like Slack or other things, you could set yourself as a way or put the, you know, when you're going to respond to things on there. So there are ways of doing that. And I think often, you know, maybe it can feel like, oh, people are emailing me and asking me stuff and I have to reply straight away. And it does also come down to us being boundaried.
Yeah.
Kind of setting those boundaries. So thanks. So anybody else on the call got a question for Louise around flexible working?
I think I haven't got a question, but just on that point we were just discussing, this week, weekend, I bought myself like a weekly planner, because I was finding I was using, because I've got like a couple of different, kind of my fingers in a couple of different pies, and I was starting to think, this, as this grows and gets more of a juggling act, I don't know if I'm coming or going, and I felt like so I've just got a weekly planner, and on a Sunday I'm just going to write down exactly what I've got for the week ahead. I know things can sometimes crop up and change, but as a rule I know exactly what I'm going to do when, even factoring in like just a little walk at lunchtime, because otherwise, Louise and I were just saying before, that you end up not taking your lunch, and then before you know it, it's like 5 o'clock, the day's flown by. And actually for your own mental well-being as well, you need to have those breaks. So in terms of structuring the day, I've just written it all down, and that's this week so far. I've been ticking off things as I've done them as well, which I think is quite a visual, is quite important. I
think as well we all have to think about what we had, you know, the commute before was our time, however long it might be, that was our time by ourselves to just probably switch off. We've kind of missed out on that time of just being on our own. And so if you can factor that into your day, that's, you know, it's a really good thing.
I suppose, oh, Shell, you've got a question. Please do ask it if you want to unmute yourself, and then you can ask your question.
Thanks. I was just wondering about Daisy Chain in terms of the areas you cover. I did sign up to 10 to 2 at one point, but it seemed to be quite London centric.
So we are based, so we're UK wide, and we have a lot of roles that are remote, so you would never have to go into an office. We cover everything: admin, marketing, PR, sales, legal. Anybody can join Daisy Chain, so it is totally free for you to join. And when you join us, you create your profile, so you're in charge of, you know, your profile and what candidate clients you connect with. And then when you join, our system matches and connects you with the employers that would suit what you're looking for. And then you are in charge of, you'll get shown the list of all the employers and all the jobs, and then it's up to you to apply to those jobs yourself. So, you know, these clients can't see your profile, you're in charge of who gets to see you. And then you can see what type of roles. So if it's like I said, if it's remote working or if it's part-time, freelance, you'll see those options, and then it's up to you to apply. We also do some features around helping our parents, and we feature them. So we have our Mum of the Month and Dad of the Days, and we'll feature you for free and highlight you to all our clients, and we can go wider as well. So not just our clients, but our wider community, to say that you're looking for a job, and we highlight what you're looking for. So if you'd like to be part of that, just feel free to message me as well.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Louise, I was just going to ask, because I'm quite interested. Obviously, you've been working on Daisy Chain like for a while now, and flexible working has become kind of a buzz since lockdown and everything. But I just wondered how you feel we've kind of moved on with flexible working, just from having set up Daisy Chain and seen how things have been over the years. I mean, do you think that we're getting to a better place now, or are there still like certain sticking points? Are people, are businesses more open, or just?
Oh, businesses, yeah, definitely moved on hugely. I think when like 2 years ago, remote working, it wasn't quite as there weren't as many businesses doing it, that they just weren't, and suddenly everyone had to go through it, and everyone had to do it. They had to get set up for it, and so everyone got through it. All the businesses that thrived, the ones that have been trying to get their people back into an office early doors, it's they're the people that are joining us are the ones that work for these companies, and they're just like, we don't need to be in an office. I've done my job for the last 18 months completely remotely, and I just don't need to do it anymore. So things have definitely moved on in a way that I didn't obviously predict 4 years ago. And I think it's the businesses that can kind of say, look, this is what worked for us, this is what didn't work for us, what will individuals need? And that's making it a personal thing for individuals and companies, small companies, large companies, they can all do it. But it's really been driven by the tech that's been at our fingertips that we've had to really embrace. But flexible working, I mean, hybrid work was something I never really heard of 2 years ago, and now that's the buzzword, isn't it? Hybrid way of working. And I think as well, beforehand, I always used to, talk to businesses, and for example, HR person might say, well, I work remotely on a Friday, but they would never be vocal about it. And that was always an issue with me, that I'd say, well, why aren't you being vocal? Because if it works for you, it'll probably work for Dave in accounts or whoever it is. You need to be really vocal about it. But now I think they are vocal about it. I don't think people are worried about saying they're not being in the office, 5 days a week. It's just not something that people are desperate to do anymore.
Right. And you spoke about like, if you're looking for a role, kind of thinking about, businesses' flexible working policy, if they even have one, which obviously they should. But do you have any kind of tips for like picking up whether they're kind like a business is kind of paying lip service to flexible working, or like how, if we're looking at it from the outside, have you got any kind of tips on how we could tell whether they're, really into it, or it's just kind of something
everyone, obviously all the companies that joined Daisy Chain, I've vetted, so they are. However, I have people, companies that apply for things, and I look on the thing, everyone just goes to a company website. That's what you do. And if there's companies on there that haven't got anything about flexible working, that definitely gives a bit of a red flag to me. However, lots do now, whereas a couple of years ago they didn't really. But I think you get a good LinkedIn, you get a good idea as well. You can have a look at what the people are working there. I think as well, for me, is what's important is trying to help women kind of progress in their careers and work for businesses. I think if you can see a board of men that are running the company, then maybe you might not want to work there. So for me, if I can see a female-led business or someone on the board who's a female alongside men, that's really important to me. And you get a good idea of, like I said, the case studies. If businesses are really doing flexible working properly and they are shouting about it, that's a huge tick in my book. The ones that are not and a bit quite cagey about it, maybe not. But you'll always get good good stories and bad stories, with especially the big large corporates. There's some terrible stories, and so you'll hear about that, and that might just put you off working for a company like that. But the ones that are getting it right are really shouting about it, and they're always in the flexible working field talking about, you know, job shares, or, you know, part-time person that's been promoted, or someone who's come back from maternity leave and has been promoted. So you can often find these success stories.
Brilliant. So if somebody's looking for a job, obviously a great thing to do is obviously sign up to your daisy chain platform, because we know that you've vetted all the companies and they're going to be offering flexibility. And you obviously also said that there's help with CVs there, because, you know, having an up-to-date CV and making sure it actually says all of your skills on there. You know, because again, CVs have changed a lot, haven't they, over the
CVs, I don't want anyone to get hung up about a CV. I think, I don't know, Abby, if you'll agree with this, but as a recruiter, people look at a CV for about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
It's literally,
You've got to capture them, and if you don't, off. Yeah.
it's literally, and people get so worried about CV. Like you know, lots of the mums, oh, well, I haven't done my CV, I haven't done my CV. I'm like, just do a CV, just do it, just put it down. I can tweak it for you. Get your best friend to tweak it for you. A CV is, it's literally just the first thing to just apply. And actually most jobs, I mean, on Daisy Chain, you can join, you don't even need a CV, because I think they're redundant. I think they're a total waste of time. However, lots of companies still do need the CV for their, like, their, you know, their in-house recruitment, and they look for keywords and buzzwords. But CVs, people get so hung up on them, and they really shouldn't. You'll have a CV in your head, you know your CV, and it's not, you can't make it up, you can't lie about a CV. Yep. That is just what it is. We on Daisy Chain, we've done a new feature where people can film themselves and either just talk, or they can actually have their face up there and just talk to an employer about themselves, and why they should employ them. I've kind of jumped in on your question a bit, sorry.
No, that's brilliant. No, please, that's not, no, that's not at all.
Please don't worry, but it's quite, yeah, I think most people, like I said, take less than 5 seconds to look at a CV.
And often, you know, you tend to find that businesses have their own kind of questions and things they want you to answer as part of the process. So, you know, you can spend ages on your CV and then suddenly find you've got
yeah, no, that's the thing. A CV is literally just that kind of document to get you an interview, or get you a discussion on the phone, or them to put you through their quizzes that they do. It's literally that first barrier. And like I said, you can't, you know, you don't make stuff up. It's your own CV. But definitely getting someone to look over your CV helps. And I've seen a lot of CVs, and I definitely think spell check is a good idea, because I see some CVs, I just think, oh God, not from my candidates, but yeah, there's, you know, Grammarly is brilliant for people that I don't know how many of you use Grammarly, but that's like my lifesaver anyway.
So yeah, so people could sign up to Daisy Chain, because we know that it's like all of those businesses are open for flexibility. Get a CV down on paper and get someone to have a look at it. Don't kind of get stuck, you know, sort of, you know, for hours thinking, oh my gosh, get it down, someone can help. And then what I really liked was you saying about your negotiables and your non-negotiables when it comes to what flexibility looks like for you. And I think probably in the past, people have been like, well, this is what I'd really like, but I'm, you know, what's actually going to happen is I'm going to work 4 days. And we don't, you know, we don't need to, there doesn't need to be that jump now, does there? Like, you know, people are much more open to different things. Flexible working has opened up much more. And, you know, so we shouldn't be kind of, oh, well, I'll have to definitely compromise on all of these things. So I really liked what you said about having the non-negotiables and sticking to them. And it is also interesting to hear it's a candidate's kind of market at the minute. So people really should make the most of that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I think candidates as well should be flexible themselves. You know, you've got your non-negotiables, but on your negotiables, definitely be a bit flexible, and let those employers know that you are being flexible with them as well, because there's nothing worse than having you know, talking to a potential new recruit is just saying, no, this is what I want, this is what I want, and not being flexible themselves. So having those bits that you think, no, I can be a bit flexible on, will make that conversation easier to have as well.
Yeah, definitely. So has anybody else got any other questions while we're here, while we've got Louise?
No, but that's been really informative. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, and anybody's free to reach out to me if they need a hand with anything. And yeah, good luck with everything with your job hunting. Like I said, yeah, like you say, it's a good time to get applying for things, and yeah, there's not enough talented people looking for new jobs at the moment. So if you are on the verge, just, you know, apply and see what happens. And yeah, I'm here to help if you need anything.
Thank you so much for your time, Louise. So
No worries.
we'll get this put up on YouTube, and then we'll obviously share it within the community, and then we'll obviously also share links for people to sign up to Daisy Chain. Encourage people to go there, because you've done a lot of the work for us. Finding all the companies that are willing to have the conversation. So thank you, and thank you for what you're doing and what you have been doing to kind of get all that groundwork in for flexible working over the years, because I know, like, you know, it's become a buzz thing now, but it's been so important to have people like yourself who have been kind of flying the flag all this time and really, you know, putting the foundations in so that we can get to the point that we're at today. So thank you for everything you do in terms of that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. And anybody got any questions, and please apply for things. Don't feel nervous about applying, and don't get hung up on your CV. That's